It's called the Tennessee Poorhouse. The new business opened here in Westmoreland earlier this year. And if you've never been, it would definitely be worth your time to make the short visit to this small Sumner County town.
Well, it was a family effort. We primarily wanted to have a business name that reflected who we were. And so not only are we pouring coffee, P-O-U-R, but we want to pour into the community and on many different levels.
And how long have you been in business to this point?
We opened on May 2nd, is when we opened the doors to this store. And we started all of this last September. It was a lot of paperwork, a lot of planning, a lot of praying, a lot of figuring out the dynamics of opening and operating a coffee shop in a small town like Westmoreland.
Now, did you move here from somewhere else?
We did. We moved here from Colorado, and we moved here before we ever had the idea or the vision or the motivation, the push to open a coffee shop.
And why make the move across country?
Well, my husband was in the Air Force, so we traveled around quite often. The last place we were stationed was in Colorado, and so we knew we didn't want to make Colorado our forever home, and we both really love Tennessee. The people are amazing, the weather is amazing, everything about it. We love Tennessee. Probably our favorite thing are the people, and so we decided if you have to pick one place, and so we drove all over. We've been pretty much all over the world and all over the United States, and Westmoreland, Sumner County is just the best place ever. We love it. We did do some renovations, and we actually rent this building. So it's the same gentleman that owns the store. He purchased it about 11 years ago. An amazing person, a great member of the community, and he's done a whole lot for Westmoreland. And it was really neat how we ended up renting this building and opening. We own our coffee shop, and we operate it inside the Old Country Store. And so the collaborative effort with the gentleman who owns the store, he has a vision for Westmoreland similar to what we do. We really love the community aspect, the family base, and we love being able to create a point within the community that people can come together. And whether it be crafters coming in, or whether you just want a good cup of coffee, or whether you don't like coffee at all and you just want really amazing ice cream. So really, no matter where you're at, we wanted a community place. And so just somewhere to kind of bring people together, kind of focus and emphasize the amazing family values that this area has.
Now, before we talk about this great smelling coffee, let's talk about the store just a little bit. I mean, I'm looking around. I'm seeing even a North Central Telephone cooperative display with O telephones.
Yeah.
Of course, that would interest me, obviously. But there are other things in here, too, as well, right?
Yes, we're very excited about our museum, and those telephones are all part of the Westmoreland and Sumner County Specific Historical Museum. So each of those telephones came out of various buildings in the Westmoreland area during those different time frames. So we're really excited about that, as well as an entire collection of the original Old Country Store that was it wasn't called the Old Country Store, of course, but artifacts and pieces of the store from the early 1900s up through the 70s. And so you'll see a large collection of museum pieces from the front of the store all the way back to the 1800 steam bath you'll see around on the back there. So it's really neat. You can spend a good amount of time really just looking through all the museum items. And then we wanted to have another way for the community to come together. And so we brought in local vendors. We have soap makers, we have candle makers, and we have natural beauty products. We have jewelry, a lot of different jewelry artists. We have some local sewn crafts, so aprons and towels and things like that. So it's really neat how we've been able to bring different people who have hobbies where they're making really beautiful items, and they just have them. And so this gives them an opportunity to kind of put their stuff at a store, and other people in the community can see it, and also people passing through. We have people from New York and Georgia and Florida. We really have an amazing collection of people that come from all over, not just the community, but the United States as well.
Obviously a very unique and wonderful idea, but now let's talk about the coffee as well. What makes, I guess, maybe coffee your passion? That's the part of the store that you're really, I guess, focusing on for the most part, right?
Well, we focus on the community aspect, but the coffee is phenomenal. We went into extensive research to determine the best place that we could get our coffee beans. As you know, the only place in the United States is Hawaii that grows coffee beans. All other coffee is imported from around the world. And so coffee has an interesting dynamic. There's a lot of behind the scenes that most people don't know about coffee. And I won't get into a long story about that, but there's a lot of oppression, there is a lot of corruption around the importing of coffee beans. And so we, as a family-owned business, as a proud American company, we wanted to make sure that the integrity that we wanted to instill not only in our business reflected out through all aspects of what we do. And so we chose a coffee roaster, which is out of Sumner, Washington. Ironically, go figure, we're in Sumner County, and it's Sumner, Washington, of all the places. And they happen to be our very favorite coffee roaster in the whole United States. And there are a lot of different roasters. What we especially love about Delano's, that's our coffee roaster business partner, they go through that extra step rather than just saying, oh, yeah, we have organic coffee beans. They make sure their coffee beans are ethically sourced, they're fair trade certified, and they go into the communities from where they're gathering these beans, and they say, we're not going to just dump a bunch of money for you. We're going to come into your community. We're going to set up clean water filtration systems. We're going to work within the community. We're going to bring solar panels. We're going to create medical buildings where they can administer medical treatment. So on so many different levels, they've gone to that, they've taken it to that next step where it's integrity based. And so our coffee not only is amazing in taste, but everything behind the scenes. So every time you buy a cup of coffee, every time you buy a bag of our coffee beans and you're brewing that at home, that decision that you've made has now affected a global betterment for not only just your community, but for the world as a whole. So we really love that integrity base behind our coffee. And the taste is impeccable. We're a small business, so we don't have the ability to purchase whole massive amounts of coffee beans and then store them in a warehouse somewhere where we have to preserve them. So we receive fresh roasted coffee beans every week into our store.
Tell me just about this venture that you guys are on right now. How wild has it been?
It's been a crazy year and a half. We started off just thinking about a place that we were going to retire, somewhere that later on down the road we could buy some property, build a house on someday, and move into it and retire, have a place for the kids to hang out, something different for them to do. Once we found the property we wanted here in Westmoreland, we fell in love with the town, we fell in love with the people, and we went back to where we were living in Colorado, and it just kept drawing us, and we just felt drawn to want to be out here now and to not want to wait. So we put our house on the market in Colorado. It wasn't a good market at the time. And it sold. It was under contract like a day or two later. Next thing you know, we're homeless. So my wife ends up moving to Texas and stays with my family for a while. And I stayed in Colorado and lived in the basement with our teenager for a little while until she finished school. So, it's been between selling our house in Colorado, being separated for a while, and my wife was 8 months pregnant at the time also. So she's doing all this traveling back and forth between Texas, Colorado, Tennessee. I'm staying in Colorado working with our daughter who's going to school. And it's been a crazy ride. And then we found a house that we lived in, that we moved into up here. We happened across a really good realtor that just was amazing. We were able to buy a house sight unseen. We purposely bought a house that we knew we weren't going to want to be in for long term, because we do want to build on our property and get a house built. But, and the being separated was just too hard for too long. And I missed my family, I missed my wife. So I quit my job, moved out here. I hadn't ever found a real job that just felt settled, that felt right. And this coffee shop actually was not even in our thoughts when we first moved out here. We had no idea what we were going to do. But one thing just led to another, and everything just worked out the way it did. And God's been good to us. So it's been, he's been leading our way, and we've been trying to follow as best we can. So,
well, you took a major leap of faith there too. Speaking of God, because had you even been to Tennessee before?
Not really. No, we traveled around the country when we were looking for property and kind of saw what we liked and didn't like. And Tennessee, just mostly because of the people here, and just it's beautiful out here. You don't get scenery like this anywhere else, and it's just beautiful. We fell in love with it, and no, I had never been here before, and I think she had just driven through at some point. But no, we'd never been here really, and so it was. We don't have any family here. We didn't know a soul here, so it was completely just a complete leap of faith.
But I bet you've made friends since you've been here.
We've met some really good people. We've made some really good friends. We settled in with a really good church, and it's been, they've really welcomed us and opened their arms to us here in town.
What is it like being a coffee shop owner now? What do you like about it? I'm sure it's a lot of hard work, but are you having fun with it?
I love it. The thing I like the most is serving the community, and that's the reason we got started doing this coffee shop thing anyways. We felt kind of pulled to do it. We didn't really know why at the time. We didn't know why we were moving to Westmoreland at the time, other than we liked it here and it just felt like home. You know, in Colorado, we never felt settled. We never had that home feeling, and it just ate at us and ate at us and ate at us, and we knew we had to do something different. Here, as soon as we got here, we had that feeling, and we knew that it was where we were supposed to be. We didn't have any question about it.
So it's got to be a very peaceful feeling, I would think.
It is, and you know, surprisingly, through everything that we've been through, not having a job, not having all those things that people rely on, that you have to be able to pay your mortgage, to be able to pay your bills, to be able to buy food for your family. We've had a surprising amount of peace, and we never really got overly stressed. I mean, there were stressful moments, but that's just the nature of being human, I believe. And once we look back at the whole picture, we know that we were here for a reason. We know that we're led here, and we know that God has great things in store for this town, for the community, and for us and our family. So, you know, we're going to do everything that we can and try to do it the right way and get the community on board, and hopefully great things start happening in this town.
A lot of Westmoreland residents would probably tell you great things have already started happening since Eric and Angel Johnson opened the Tennessee Poorhouse inside the Old Country store. A leap of faith that has already started providing huge dividends. Reporting in Westmoreland, Barry Hyatt, NCTV.